It's been a while since I've done a ranked Nishane Fragrances list, and today I've got the big one for you. It's a top 25 list of a lot of their fragrances. There's some left out, unfortunately, but this is the majority of their entire catalog of what's currently selling, and I'm going to let you know what they are coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yes, today I'm talking about Nishane. It's a top 25 list ranked from least favorite to most favorite. The usual suspects are here. There are some missing fragrances, which I do not have, but these are, the bulk of the fragrances. This is only what's currently selling, not fragrances that are discontinued and things like that. That will be for a separate list. And also want to let you know, this is the weekend that So Avant-Garde is doing a 30% off sale on their website, and all of the fragrances that I'm talking about today in this video are on sale for 30% off. You can use the code Sebastian30. So let's go ahead and get started with the first fragrance. I'm going to do this as fast as I can. It's a top 25 list. I've got one bonus option as well. This is KARAGOZ, this one right here. Ranked at the bottom. I'm not understanding this fragrance. Unfortunately, it doesn't do it for me. But when I smell it and I look up the notes, I'm not getting the connection with the actual notes and the fragrance. The fragrance actually smells like rubber to me, and I'm not sure if that's subconscious, but this black bottle, it's matte finish and everything, kind of reminds me of what I'm smelling in rubber form. But the notes are grapes, pineapple, vetiver, amber, oud, neroli, patchouli, greens, and jasmine. This one doesn't do it for me. It's not a bad fragrance, it just doesn't excite me, and I've ranked it very low. And I know some of you might be fans of this one, but I don't see many people mentioning this particular fragrance. But if you're a fan, let me know, and let me know what you like about KARAGOZ. But I've ranked it here at number 25. And then moving on to another fragrance that I don't really enjoy from this house. I don't hate it. It's just not one that I say, oh my god, that's the most amazing smell I've smelled. This is Vain and Naive, this one right here. So this one to me is a floral, fruity floral fragrance. But I feel like the notes have been strained through a strainer, and you're getting just basically nothing but like a diet version of some. I don't know what it is about this fragrance that just doesn't excite me, and it doesn't do it for me. But I feel like like I said, the notes have been strained through a strainer, and you're getting something that's kind of transparent. You can see through the notes, the way it wears. It's almost kind of like plasticky, and it just doesn't really do it for me. It doesn't smell bad, just doesn't excite me, but it features notes of raspberries, plums, rose, tonka beans, sandalwood, cedar, jasmine, orange, amber, and benzoin. If you're a fan of Vain and Naive, do let me know. I'm not the biggest fan. I don't hate it. I don't have any fragrances that I hate the smell of in here. I just don't love that fragrance. Next, going to a fragrance created by Dominique Ropion. It's PAPILEFIKO, this one right here. So PAPILEFIKO, I feel like it's executed nicely by Mr. Dominique Ropion, but to me it smells kind of boring. Like, it's not a very exciting fragrance, but I feel like out of a lot of the fragrances I'm talking about here today, this one probably is a crowd pleaser. It smells like it can be. It also has a bit of a designer-esque quality about it. Maybe that's why I'm not that excited about this one. But it's cardamom with coriander, citruses, lavandin, artemisia, jasmine, fir balsam, moss, and styrax. Either way, let me know if you're a fan of PAPILEFIKO from Nishane. I'd like to find out. So up next, a barbershop fragrance from Nishane. It's B612, this one right here. So I've ranked this pretty low. Unfortunately, I like barbershop fragrances. In fact, I love barbershop fragrances. Those are some of the fragrances that I really discovered, smelling fragrances through my dad. And I enjoy them, but this one to me seems a bit faint and not as exciting as some other barbershop-y fragrances. It smells great, it just doesn't have that wow factor for me that I want from Nishane fragrances, the showstopper kind of fragrances. But some of you like these kind of fragrances, and it might appeal to you. It's Cypress, Cashmeran, Patchouli, Vetiver, Sandalwood, Musk, Tonka beans, Cedar, Oak Moss, and Geranium. Yeah, it's barbershop-y, it's a fougere, it's that kind of aromatic, herbal, quality fragrance, but it's just, again, not one of the most exciting. But I do enjoy it more than number 25, obviously. That's why it's here at number 22. So B612 from Nishane is at number 22. So there are some fragrances that are probably going to shock you where they've ended up. I'm not a fan of those fragrances, and Fan Your Flames is not one of my favorite fragrances from this house. Sure, at one time I enjoyed it, but it's not like a very exciting fragrance once again. That's why I've ranked it low. And unfortunately, at number 21, it's Fan Your Flames X. I could have put either one here, but I've kind of think I prefer the original more than the current X version. And this is coconut, tonka, tobacco, rum, carrots, thyme, mastic, cedar, oak moss, patchouli. I feel like the Nishane Fan Your Flames and Fan Your Flames X, they are definitely different, but similar DNA. I feel like this kind of a DNA is sort of in the ballpark of something similar to Jazz Club from Maison Margiela, and I just don't enjoy this particular kind of a tobacco boozy fragrance. There's sure booziness here, and of course this one's been spiked with a vegetal touch of carrots, but not necessarily one of my favorite fragrances. But it's Fan Your Flames X at 21, so it's there. I enjoyed more than the first fragrance I spoke to you about, but we're going to a fragrance called KREDO, this one right here. So this one's actually really, really good. Now we're going to start getting into fragrances that are really good. I mean, I think I like everything after this. But I had to put it here because it does have a familiarity about it. It does remind me a little bit of something like Tom Ford's Oud Wood, but in the style of Nishane. And it's definitely a very easy to wear oud fragrance with pink pepper, cardamom, osmanthus, oud, sandalwood, and suede. It smells really, really great, but I had a hard time deciding where to put anything. And even though I said I don't really enjoy Fan Your Flames as much, this one kind of ranked lower than that because it does have that kind of familiar smell. But still, I think it's executed really, really great by Jean-Louis Suizac, I think is the perfumer on this one. He did a great job. Just, I know this fragrance because it does remind me of Tom Ford. But either way, some of you might like this one. It's KREDO from Nishane. Check that out if you don't know it. And this is the original Fan Your Flames here at number 19. Yeah, it's coconutty, it's boozy, it's tobacco. There's a bit of a sandalwoody touch in here, kind of like the shaved woods kind of smell, like you're in a wood shop, but also there's a creamy undertone about it, and the coconut kind of contributes to the creaminess along with that sandalwood. But in the end, also smells like a coffee grounds to me when I wear this fragrance. So it's this very interesting combination. I do prefer it more than the new version, the X, but unfortunately it's not necessarily one of my all-time favorite Nishane fragrances, so that's why it's here at number 19. It's Fan Your Flames at number 19. Then moving on to a fragrance called Tuberoza, this one right here. This is actually a really, really great take on something like Fracas by the house of Robert Piguet. Very modern take on a tuberose, bubblegummy kind of a fragrance with an overdose of white flowers, including tuberose. There's loads of tuberose here, along with the tropical yellow floral touches of the Ylang-Ylang. There's also more white floral notes in this, like gardenia, jasmine, orange blossom. There's also armoire, which we recently discussed in a video, sweet orange, marigold, vetiver, musk, amberwood, sandalwood. A lot of stuff going on in this one. It's pretty complex, but in the end, you're really highlighting those white floral notes. Very creamy, bubblegummy, a bit old school, but also modern at the same time. The reason I'm saying old school because it reminds me of Fracas from Robert Piguet. So it's that like kind of bubblegummy tuberose fragrance. But yeah, it's a great creation, I think. Definitely highlight here. It's ranked lower because I prefer the others much more. This is Tuberoza from Nishane at number 18. All right, so Nishane is known for one fragrance, or maybe several fragrances, but the one that they're really known for is Hacivat, or Hacivat, I should say, in the Turkish pronunciation. Then there's a version that came out this year called Hacivat X. It's kind of sort of a remix of the original fragrances, the flanker take on it. And I really enjoy the original, so I've put the X version here. This is it right here. So I feel like it's kind of taken into a bit of a creamy and freshened up direction rather than, you know, keeping it that Cypress style it is with the original, with the oak moss, because I feel like the oak moss has been removed. And even though this is still kind of screechy, it's not as screechy as the original. There's not a lot of sharp metallic kind of notes in this one. So if you like the idea of something that's freshened up further than the original, this is definitely one for you to try. If you like Hacivat and you enjoy it, probably stick with the original because that's ranked higher. But if you want something of a bit of a remix, because that's what I think of the X series of fragrances. I call them remix because X is in the word remix. So, but it refers to 10 years of not 10 years of Hacivat, 10 years of Nishane fragrances. But this Hacivat X has lime, orange flower, vetiver, bergamot, pineapple, pink pepper, patchouli, jasmine, and cedar. And the lime and the orange flower, and I believe the vetiver have been added fairly new to the new version here, because I don't think it existed in the original. So there's definitely more of a freshened up experience here with this new Hacivat X. So that is at number 17. Then moving on to NANSHE, this one right here, launched during the pandemic. This is a Cecile Zarokian creation. Not as good as Ani, but still I think it's quite good. It's very powdery. It has kind of a makeup-y effect here. And also a bit of chypre effect as well, because there's definitely loads of patchouli here, rose and patchouli together, a very, almost to the point of being a chypre style fragrance. But there are vegetal touches in here with carrot seeds, there's tropical flowers, ylang-ylang, there's sandalwood, musk, patchouli, jasmine, powdery notes, loads of flowers, rose, and it's a great, great take on a powdery floral fragrance with a bit of a hint of something chypre-esque. I really like the patchouli in this. I haven't experienced a very powdery fragrance that has that kind of backbone of patchouli, because that's what I like about this one. Otherwise, it would have ended up further down the list around 2022, but the fact that this has loads of patchouli, I have put it here at number 16. So this is NANSHE at number 16. Check that out if you don't know it. This next fragrance is 100 Silent Ways X, this one right here. So this is an update to the original 100 Silent Ways. As you can see, the X versions are down further down rather than up at the top of the list. It's because they're new versions and I'm so familiar with the originals. They're good fragrances, don't get me wrong, but if you're so used to the original, you might not dig the X's, but some of you might not like the original and really prefer the X version. So you've got to kind of get your nose on these different fragrances to see which version you like. Here with 100 Silent Ways X, it's been amped up a little bit with some additional notes. There's definitely a creamy factor about it, but in the end you can totally smell the original fragrance in here. It's been boosted up with some leathery touches, but the peach note is in here, the vanilla is in here, there's mandarin, there's gardenia, there's tuberose, patchouli, then there's added orris in here and heliotrope as well to kind of give it a new kind of an experience here. This one to me doesn't seem as freshened up as some of the other X fragrances. This one seems to be a bit more boosted up and intensified a little bit. So the leather in this kind of creates for a bit of a more potent version of the original. But I really, really love the original. I think the original is one of the best from Nishane. And so I've ended up putting 100 Silent Ways X here at number 15. So that is a great, great release. Check it out if you don't know it. I really enjoy this series of fragrances from Nishane, although what I should say is I really enjoy the Nishane fragrances in general, but this X series, I like them, but when you're ranking them against the originals, obviously they end up lower. But again, that might not be true for you, so definitely get your nose on both versions to see which you like more. So at number 14, we're going with Suede at Saffron, this one right here. This is a really great leather fragrance, great execution here with whoever did this, I can't remember. Sure, it does remind me of something like Tom Ford's Tuscan Leather, but this is the Nishane's take on it. It's a bit more leatherized, I think, and also musky. There's definitely the idea of ambrette here and musk along with the musk, so there's definitely kind of a musky backbone here, but it's lots of leather. There's the saffron, the suede leather, so all of this contribute to a leathery effect. Some zingy spiciness from ginger, and then loads of musk in here. So it's really great creation. It does remind me of Tuscan Leather. That's why it's ranked a bit lower than at the top of the list, but I think this is a great execution for a great leather fragrance. So Suede at Saffron from the house of Nishane is at number 14. So next going to a fragrance Temp Fluo, this one right here. Temp Fluo, I think, was one of the better fragrances from this series of fragrances that came out last year. They were all created by IFF perfumers, Jean-Louis Suizac, Carlos Banayem, and Flippo for this one, and Dominic Ropian with PAPILEFIKO. Those are all different IFF perfumers. I felt like this was one of the better ones between the four, although my number one favorite is coming up later. Temp Fluo to me is a very musky take on bubblegummy flowers, but it's not necessarily like Tuberoza where it's focusing and highlighting the tuberose, and even though this has a kind of a bubblegummy effect, not as much as the Tuberoza, but there's also greenness in here, some vanillic touches, and some light gourmandish touches as well, with bergamot, mandarin, saffron, jasmine, sambac, orange flower, praline, cashmere, cedar, vanilla. Quite nice. I really like this one. It's fresh, and this is definitely Anne Flippo, perfumer from IFF, who created Frederic Mall's Synthetic Jungle. And for me, I feel like there's some overlap between the two. Not smelling identical, but some of the notes are kind of going back and forth between those two fragrances. But either way, a really great fragrance, Temp Fluo at number 13. Then we're going to Colonize, this one right here. Colonize is a great freshie, really great long-lasting freshie. It doesn't, like when I say long-lasting, it lingers on, but this is not something that projects and has, massive sillage or things like that. But it's a wonderful eau de cologne style fragrance. If you're into the idea of fragrances like Neroli, Portofino, you definitely need to get your nose on this one. It's loads of bergamot with tea and jasmine, Neroli and grapefruit, musk and lemon, vetiver and lily of the valley. It smells so good, so realistic and naturalistic smelling. Colonize at number 12. Wonderful offering from that house. Then it's Wulong-Cha X, this one right here. This is one of my favorite X fragrances. I think really great smell. This one, along with Ani, are my two most favorite X fragrances. And Julien Rasquinet redid this one. And I think it's been boosted up with a magnolia presence. There's an overdose of magnolia in this one. And so it has a bit of a creamy lemoniness against that whole tea vibe that was in the original Wulong-Cha. But it's bergamot, mandarin, yuzu, litsea, magnolia, green tea, musk, fig, and thyme. It smells really great. It's a perfect summer fragrance. Wear it in the heat. It smells fantastic. I really like magnolia because magnolia has not necessarily a very distinct smell like Tuberose or Gardenia or Jasmine, but there's definitely something white floral there, along with a bit of a lemony edge, so I feel like it complements perfectly with the tea and the figgy notes that are in here. So Wulong-Cha X is at number 11. Then we've got Taro, this one right here. This is my favorite of the collection that came out last year from Nishane. This one's created by Carlos Benayem. And what I like about this one is the salty caramel against all these woody notes. There's black pepper, there's a spiciness, Sichuan pepper, patchouli, cinnamon, amber, vetiver, and oak wood. It's a great woody, spicy fragrance with loads of this kind of salty, sweet kind of notes that's contrasted. So it's kind of an unusual combination, but it really works. This might come off a bit boring because I find woody fragrances quite boring most of the time, but here I really like that contrast with the salted caramel that's in here. It adds this very kind of unique twist to the fragrance, which makes it a lot more interesting to wear. So Taro at number 10. Really enjoy that one. Then we've got something that I really didn't like at first. Now it's kind of creeped up on me and I really enjoy it. It's Ege from Nishane, the ozonic aquatic fragrance with loads of violet leaves. There's basil, mint, yuzu, olibanum. There's anise and licorice as well. And it's a great ozonic fragrance. It has a bit of a cucumber vibe, maybe a little bit of fresh, drippy, crunchy apple kind of notes, but it's more of a cucumberiness in here. And I think it's from that violet leaves note in here, which creates the ozonic touch. It's so super fresh, very refreshing, very kind of ice cold. The situation comes to mind because there's definitely a coldness about this one. And once again, it's from the violet leaves note. But don't forget there's herbal touches in this as well, with the fact that there's a mint and basil. Really great fragrance. This is Ege from the house of Nishane, and that mint is actually key because I think it's a fragrance for relationship between Greeks and Turks, and both of these cultures utilize mint quite a bit, and that mint is pretty significant in that fragrance against the ozonic touches of the violet leaves. So next we've got Ani X at number 8. Ani X is a freshened up version of Ani, the original fragrance, which is coming later. If you like the idea of Ani, but it was too much for you, maybe you would like something more fresher, more citrusy version of Ani with lemons, because the lemons is boosted up with this Ani X. But in the end, it's kind of very similar to the original. Just imagine adding lemons or lemon juice or a more lemony edge to the fragrance. And there's loads of cardamom here with vanilla. There's blue ginger, patchouli, lemons, bergamot, white musk, cashmere, sandalwood. So the idea is really great. If you think the other one is too potent for you, the lemons does really freshen up the fragrance, really intensify the freshness, which means it's a pretty potent fragrance still, but not as potent as the original. But this time we have more of an intense take on citruses. But the sandalwood's still here, the vanilla is still here, the ginger and also the cardamom are here, which are pretty signature for the original fragrance. But Ani X is great. I really like this one, and it's my favorite of the X's, with the Wulong-Cha X being my second favorite. But Ani X is great. Check it out. It's Ani X from Nishane. Then we've got a fragrance from Nishane called Sultan Vetiver, this one right here. Sultan Vetiver is a pretty intense take on vetiver and very, very unique with the addition of anise note, and it comes through when you're wearing it, but it's an overdose of vetiver with neroli, leather, anise, bergamot, black pepper, tonka beans, and amber. This is a great take on vetiver and in a great way that Nishane can do. Really, really intense. The vetiver in this has definitely got this dampness, definitely a very earthy take on the vetiver. So it's a very, very heavy vetiver note in here. If you're into vetiver, you gotta check this one out. There might be some light animalic undertones as well with the vetiver in this one, but when when the fragrance is settling, you do end up smelling some floral touches and green touches and things like that, and then eventually it becomes kind of leathery when it's drying down. So this is Sultan Vetiver from Nishane. Are you familiar with that one? Let me know, put a comment down. But next, it's Patchouli Koja, this one right here. So Nishane had another patchouli fragrance called Munegu, which I really, really loved. This one I really like as well. Actually, I like it a lot more than some of the other fragrances because it is, after all, patchouli. But this version, in comparison to the other, whereas the other one's all about patchouli, this one's more substantial with leather and then incense. And there's definitely loads of ambery touches in this one as well to give you kind of a very dense experience when you're wearing it. It's almost like patchouli cake, where you've actually taken the patchouli, mixed it with all these ingredients to come up with some kind of a cake, whereas the Munegu, which I really enjoyed as well, was nothing but the patchouli. But this is patchouli, incense, honey, leather, black pepper, chamomile, artemisia, hyacinth, and ylang-ylang. Wonderful offering from this house, Patchouli Koja. Check it out if you don't know it. This is at number 6. And at number 5, we've got Hacivat, this one right here. Everybody knows Hacivat, probably the most popular fragrance from this house. Yes, people do connect it to the fragrance Aventus from Creed, but they're kind of similar ideas executed differently. This one's definitely very screechy and metallic. There's a sharpness about it. The woods are very, very screechy, but there is a fruitiness. It's pineapple. There's also grapefruit in here, so there's definitely a zing and a kick and a bite with the grapefruit, but there's loads of oak moss, patchouli, woods, and of course bergamot as well. I still prefer the original, but if you're into the idea of the X, I think you can definitely do it. I believe it's less screechy than the original, but I kind of like the screechiness of Hacivat. That's why it's here at number 5. So Hacivat at number 5. And then we've got 100 Silent Ways at number 4. Such an amazing fragrance from Nishane. It's actually become a favorite of mine later on, and whereas early on it wasn't. I've grown to really enjoy it. I really enjoy the amber floral style of fragrance, and that's what this is. And it features notes of vanilla, gardenia, sandalwood, peach, some other floral notes, and some other musky touches as well. But for me, it's an intoxicating fragrance, and I really, really enjoy it. And again, it's become a favorite of mine from all of their fragrances, and really enjoy the combination of the notes. And the best thing about this fragrance is it's really great to layer with Hacivat. Both of these two together creates for a very intoxicating combination that is really, really to die for. And try it out and see what I'm talking about, because it smells fantastic. But either way, 100 Silent Ways at number 4. Then we've got Oolong Cha, the original. Again, this was also not a love at first sniff. Later on, it became a favorite of mine, and I think it's one of the best tea fragrances around. Really a great, fantastic smelling tea. Very fresh, a bit herbal, a bit green, but very, very cozy. It's got tea, it's got bergamot, orange, fig, musk, mandarin, lychee fruit. So a bit fruitiness with the lychee fruit and the fig, and I like that contrast with that very, very smooth and very, very calming effect with the tea that's in here. This is the kind of fragrance you would wear in the heat. When it's hot outside, you want something really calming, and this does it for you. So it's Oolong Cha from the house of Nishane. And this one is super, super amazing from the house of Nishane. It's Ambra Calabria. I really, really love this one. This one has been a favorite of mine for the last 6 years. Absolutely really love the way this fragrance was created. The idea of an amber that's fresh with green notes and citruses and, green touches and green floral notes and things like that is really amazing. They've done a great job with this one. I think it's a sleeper hit, not necessarily one of the best fragrances from this house or the most popular, but definitely really love this one because I love amber to begin with, and I also like green notes, and so this is kind of a green amber, a fresh amber. So bergamot, amber, green notes, galbanum, coriander, vanilla. It's super, super amazing, guys. If you don't know this one, do check it out. It's Ambra Calabria at number 2. And at number 1, it's the original Ani, this one right here. Yeah, it's good. It's a really great fragrance. It's vanilla, but it's also zingy. It's spicy. It's got that ginger. It's got that cardamom. Really great contrast to the syrupy, sticky kind of vanilla. And then there's that sandalwood in here as well. It gives you that creamy, smooth vibe with all of these kind of notes together. Along the way, there's some blackcurrant, bergamot, and benzoin as well to amp up the ambery touches when it's drying down. But this stuff is super fantastic. Really, really great. Next to Ani X, as I said earlier, Ani X is definitely a lemony take on Ani, freshened up with the lemons. But if you like the full, original, more intense version, definitely go with the original Ani. I think it's super amazing. Anyway, guys, that's the top 25 Nishane fragrances list. What are your thoughts on these fragrances? Are you a fan of these? And how would you rank this list? Maybe a top 5 or a top 10? Put a comment down so I can find out what's missing from the list. Well, there's maybe 1 or 2. Africa Oliphant is missing, which I don't have. And then Nefs is also here. But honestly, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Nefs after the outro. But either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. And don't forget to take advantage of that So Avant-Garde 30% off discount code. I have it in the info box, and you can take advantage of these fragrances and get them for that price point, because that's a great, great savings, 30% off for these great Nishane fragrances. Anyway, thanks so much for watching today. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. Okay, so what's the deal with Nefs? So I've left this one off the list. This has so many fans. I've just not clicked with this fragrance. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't do it for me. It's Chris Maurice. I should like this fragrance, but I sadly do not. So first of all, the fragrance reminds me of citronella. I don't know if you guys know this. The smell of citronella, that's what it smells like to me, and I don't want to wear citronella. But either way, it has notes of oud, rose, honey, vanilla, saffron, osmanthus, whiskey, gurgeon balsam, leather, fig, violet, jasmine, amber, cedar, cinnamon. But to me, citronella. Do I want to wear citronella? No. Who is a fan of Nefs? Do let me know. Put a comment down. I just don't get this fragrance. Maybe it's my body chemistry. It doesn't smell great on me, or I can smell it and it's just mixing with my senses. It's not working. But this fragrance, so many fans of it out there. I don't get it. I don't like it. It's not a favorite. I happen to have a bottle. I'm not going to get rid of it, but this is definitely not a fragrance I really enjoy wearing. If you guys enjoy Nefs, let me know. Put a comment down below so I can find out. Let me know what it is about Nefs that you enjoy. What do you like about it? And why am I smelling citronella with this one? Do you guys get citronella? I mean, when you focus on it, you might, but maybe my nose is just not working right. I don't know. But most of the time, my nose works right because I really enjoy a lot. But this one, I just don't get this fragrance. Not sure why I get citronella with it, but this one is very, very disappointing. I enjoy a lot of fragrances from Nishane, and the rank list you just watched, I don't hate those fragrances. But I could say I hate this one because it just doesn't work for me. It's not a pleasant smell, and I don't want to wear a fragrance that reminds me of citronella. So unfortunately, I left this off as a bonus option. But do let me know if you're a fan of it. Do let me know if you enjoy it. Do let me know what you get from wearing it. And do let me know if you also smell citronella and you don't care. Put a comment down below so I can find out. Thanks so much for watching. See you guys later. Bye-bye.